Well, good evening, my beautiful people in the Charlotte area and the surrounding areas, and in fact, anyone within the sound and reach of my voice. All right, so I have been telling you for the last 5 to 6 weeks consistently that I have been researching several, we'll call them topics. Let's see if I can somehow give you a better, let's see, because I'm somewhat not centered enough. Okay, so, oh boy. So with each effort that I make to research one particular topic. Okay, sorry about that. We had just a bit of a poor connection there, so hopefully we'll be able to stay connected. I have switched. Yes, some of my devices are indeed 5G and some are not. Now, I have been told this before. I'm looking at, so I'm using I'm using the iPad Pro to record this video, and I honestly, it's one of these weird things. I don't really, if it looks like I'm looking askant, askew, there is some validity to that because I'm not actually looking at the camera, and instead I'm looking at my image as I kind of talk to you all, because it's kind of awkward to just kind of look, because it doesn't show you the camera like, you know, the phone would, and you can kind of look straight ahead. So I hope that doesn't make you feel too awkward, but it's very, very disconcerting. It's weird. It might be, you know, a bit of advice to Apple, to have some type of, focal point, you know what I mean, for the actual, maker of the video to engage, so that they can, have that perspective, that spot on perspective, and like I'm looking at you as I'm speaking. But right now, of course, I'm looking askant. The video, let's see, the video is actually down here, ironically enough, on this side. So it would be really, really awkward for me to be doing this the whole video. And so, yeah, so that's not going to work either. But nonetheless, I'm doing my absolute best with the learning of our new technologies. And if you have any suggestions, I'm always open to them. So nonetheless, what I was getting at is that with every new topic that I said, hey, I'll throw this into the mix and I'll research this matter, because I don't like to speak on matters for which I have insufficient information. And most of you know that about me. I'm a very big proponent of, you know, not dipping in the Kool-Aid and I don't know the flavor. I don't do it as a scientist. I don't really do it as a, you know, as just in regular life. I don't just go around and be like, oh, I'm gonna just drink that. I don't even know what that is. I'm just drink it. I don't do that. So it stands to reason with how I roll, how I process information, that I would first do my research, especially in areas that may not be my expertise, or in areas that maybe, again, I have insufficient knowledge. It doesn't mean that I am unintelligent in those areas. It just means that these certain topics nowadays require just a bit more diving into. They require just a bit more research, trying to figure out what laws apply as it relates to the unlawful, the unlawful killing of beautiful black men around the country. What laws apply, or what laws are they usurping or misinterpreting or obfuscating? You know, I love that word, obfuscation. What are they intentionally confusing about the language of the law to Americans so as they can evade any criminal liability for their actions in the midst of their police brutality? These are the things that I need to research, because number one, I live in North Carolina. Most of you know that. This is not a secret. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, right? Okay. And so when you ask me about North Carolina general statutes, I can most likely, boom, call that off the top of my head. I got it. I got the chapter, and I can tell you, I could at the very least paraphrase quite accurately. Okay? All right. But if you ask me about something maybe in Wisconsin, like, with the situation with Blake, right? I don't know the specific laws. And I don't want to be one of those that says, well, I know that that's against the law. Yeah, because they're constitutional. And yes, they are still yet prevailing laws. But with obfuscation, with the empowerment of states, which has been obfuscated. So there are state officials who believe somehow they have a prevailing authority to enact or ratify legislation that they know is in some way, albeit small or large, contradictory to the prevailing guiding law. Now, the law says that no state should have any law that is contradictory at all to any prevailing law. And that kind of makes sense, right? So Hawaii they don't want, if they say, here in Hawaii, we just don't want to have traffic signals, and we don't want to have, well, that's not a good one. I'm trying not to be too political or too racially charged when I say it, but how about we just use, an example? Like, well, here in Hawaii, we don't want to acknowledge women's rights. No women's rights. We're not talking about LGBTQ. Just women in general don't have rights in Hawaii. And that's how we feel about it. And yes, we have recognized and we have accepted this. We have accepted this kind of admission, right? Inclusion in the United States of America. But no. We don't recognize any women's rights. They can't do that, Now, I say this word can't very loosely. It's something that I have many, many discussions about with my close family and friends. Because they'll ask me, well, Tigress, I'm like there and lovingly, and I love them. And some of them are the same for me. We can bounce off ideas and concept, legal standards and doctrines or whatever, okay? And some of them say, well, Tigress, hold on. Can they do that? And some of my close family will literally just say, well, can they do that? They can't do that, right, Tigress? What's the law about that? They can't do that. And yes, the law says they cannot. But how I always kind of answer this, and now we're in our rhythm, so, I don't have to go back and say the things that I would say in the beginning to answer this question. We know that we know that it is unlawful to murder, right? But people murder people every day. So they can't, right? But they can do virtually anything they undertake to do. They may not, fully commit the commission of a crime. They may, so they may carry out steps in the furtherance of the crime, but they may not actually commit the actual crime. And still yet you have conspiracy, which is a crime. So, you can argue that, of course, they still committed that crime, which is conspiracy, but they didn't commit the crime that they set out to commit, is what I'm getting at, right? So we know that they can, because just like in, religion, God's law says that everyone has free will, right? But people still sin. Christians still sin. And oh my God, I know that somebody's going to turn this off right now and they're going to, think of me as the devil. I'm the devil. But that is not, it's just not accurate. We all know that we have the propensity. We all know that we have bad character and good character. How we choose to react to a situation, is whether or not we kind of assert or usurp this will that we have, this human right of free will to can do something, or we feel that we can't. So when someone says, I can't do that, they are actually saying, of course, because we know they can. Of course they can. They factually and literally, they can murder. But when they say they can't, they're saying that I don't wish to engage in that type of behavior for whatever reasons. And it can be reasons that are merited and ethical, or it can be reasons that are unethical and not merited, right? Okay, so that's the reason why I would want to research, the laws that are of the land from which or of which the individuals that we keep seeing who are, these beautiful black men and women who have lost their lives at the hand of police brutality in their respective states, right? Okay. And it's so much. I can't do it in a 30-minute discussion. You keep getting all these sound bites from here and there. And for the most part, a lot of them that I'm seeing are pretty accurate. Here's the caveat to that. Most of the people who are speaking on it, they look like me. They have the same hue, the same melanin. So, and beautiful variations of that hue. But what I'm getting at is that we generally, Black America, and that's another part of this topic that I wanted to, so basically today what I'm going to do is kind of give an outline of the things that I'm going to discuss going forward. And I didn't want to go live every week. Because again, I said you're inundated with everything coming from every which way. But I was reminded by one of my absolute favorite scientists, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He said on his show or on his video on his YouTube channel, Star Talk, he reminded scientists to come forward and talk. And I tweeted about that and said, now, you have a more public platform. Yes, I have a public platform. Tigress, of course. I have, Tigress McDaniel, a public platform. My reach is not as far extending as Neil. Okay? That's just factual. It's not a competition. I haven't undervalued myself or any of that stuff. It's just a fact. Okay. So with that being a fact, I mentioned to him in the tweet that, hey, we're here. And yes, where there are scientists and even economists, there are a lot of hardcore scientists. And when I say hardcore scientists, I mean the scientists who actually get in the lab, the scientists who are actually conducting research. Not just, and I shouldn't just say not just, as opposed to or in comparison to, because even opposed kind of gives this gradation. I'm not trying to grade the two kind of individual personality types within any type of field or any particular field. But the point is valid. In my field of science, which is my first love. So my first field, my primary field is science. And we know my primary field is the what? Physical science, right? So we got soil science, water science, plant science, that, right? Hydrology, wetland bioremediation. You've heard me say it a million times over. Okay. All right. And anybody that's new to, there you go. That's my first love. All right. So in my field of scientists, the atypical and the typical, stereotypically, we are introverts, right? We're introverts. There is an emergence of more extroverted people like myself who are just as hardcore and just as qualified, if not more, in their respective sciences, right? And their respective specialization. But his point was that generally, and yes, we must all admit that generally speaking, most scientists in my field or related, applied physical sciences, generally do not want to be in front of the camera. Well, my experience is very interdisciplinary. And I've been public, quote unquote, since I was younger because my mom was very public in her community. And so was a lot of my family. And so I was just in that path. And not even so much as that we were necessarily in the political scene, because it wasn't so much as that, but really in the community. That was my mother's love and remains to this day. And so what I'm getting at is that he's absolutely right. Most scientists would not accept an invite to be on the same stage as Neil if they had to kind of rival or keep up with his his comfort. You see, it's just effortless. His ability to speak on high level subject matter, but communicate and articulate it in such a way that it is received well by the masses, right? And then add the humor into it, especially because I can see from both sides, right, that oftentimes we know how technical our subject matter is. And we don't want it to be reduced or trivialized in any way, shape, or fashion by having, a comedy, kind of infused into the process. But I understand and value that because, I've talked to you about how comedy really is a great, what's the word I'm looking for? Leveler, if you will. It levels the playing field for everyone, and so he does a wonderful job of it. And I think Chuck Nice and Neil together is like brilliant, just absolute brilliant. But the point I was making is that, hey, Neil, you have a bigger platform. Few of scientists are willing to even accept that invite. And here I am. I'm most willing, as you all know. I'm always throwing my head in the ring. I'm willing. But they don't want to hear from someone that is always telling the absolute truth. They want someone that is more willing to tell a watered down truth. And see, Neil kind of places out of that kind of ostracization, where he is not popular amongst kind of fad culture or sensationalism, because like he will admit, he will give a soundbite. He will give a soundbite. And I don't mind giving the occasional soundbite. I have quite a few trademark soundbites, drink water and mind your business and protect your neck and all that stuff. I don't mind that, but I can understand where my fellow scientists don't want the appreciation of the technical information, which is very, very vital to our existence. They don't want that trivialized in any way. They don't want that to be reduced comically, and you have to understand that. So nonetheless, I've decided then to go ahead and go live once a week. He challenged, I think it was a challenge. You can look at his last vid. He posted it like 16 hours ago. It was on climate change. It was one of his kind of annual big star talks or whatever. And so I will definitely answer the challenge. I ain't no bump. And we'll go once a week. All right. I don't know what day. Okay. Because life is very different than it was prior to the pandemic. And although as a scientist, I was prepared in a lot more ways than the general public, it is still yet a transition and an adjustment for me as a mom, a single mom, a Black single mom who's watching all of this stuff happen and unfold from home. Because most of you know that my son is part of the vulnerable community, but that's a wonderful soundbite. But I always tell you what, he's never vulnerable when I'm around. All right. So, and I'm that I'm in school, right? And so it's a lot. It is. It's a lot to do from home, facilitate his virtual learning. His teachers are wonderful. I'm happy to see that they're doing a wonderful job. I hope it stays that way. I hope that they don't take on the disposition of some of the other teachers and other schools that I've had to go live and publicize, and kind of advocate for other parents and children with 504 plans and such. But they know that I'm a very active parent, and they require the same, if not more. There's a little more work that they require, and they don't force it down our throat, but they definitely require it to assist throughout the day as needed. So I'm on call for my son, And then I'm handling my work, and then work has changed drastically for the for-profit corporation. And now I'm having to kind of evolve again, and it's not even kind of, I'm evolving again, and you may see some renovated YouTube channels for my for-profit ventures. And so, yeah, it's a lot. So I cannot commit to a specific day. Every time I've tried, I have admittedly failed, as you've seen. And I do not like failing you. I don't mind failing because I'm a scientist. So I don't mind failing forward. But I know that the general public receives that as a ding, you know, a negative hurt, a negative offense, you know? So I don't want to continue to offend you negatively. And instead, I can commit to going live once per week. That I can do. I can do that. And generally speaking, it looks as though we're going to have to do 1 hour videos. Okay, friends? I believe that 30 minutes in touching just one subject matter is going to be somewhat difficult. Now, as I get into this further, and maybe let's hope that things kind of calm down, we get beyond the election, like a lot of other my other colleagues out there that are sharing with you all, colleagues that you all equally respect, oh goodness, what is his name? The Black Business School. Oh goodness. Hold on. And see, we're already at 4:29, but again, I told you this one was going to be a bit descriptive. It's an explainer vid of sorts, okay? What is his name? Both of them, I can't think. The psychologist, are you kidding me? Hold on. I follow them both on YouTube. Let's see. Let me get to it.
You can manage your team's work easily with Monday.com. Just go to Monday.com and start tracking.
I know I'm real. Dr. Boyce. I knew it was a B. Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'll put their names. You know who I'm referring to. And the psychologist who is doing some really positive things with group economics. I too follow, I want to say it's Ernestine Johnson and her husband, and the work they're doing in Atlanta. Of course, I also follow T.I. Yes, he's got, some mess on this side, but generally, in my strong opinion, his sum total is beast mode for Black America and our forward movement, equity, and empowerment and legacy. I think the same thing of Ice Cube and a number of other Black entertainers and activists. So I am going to discuss in the next video vaccine for viruses. Okay, so that's going to be a whole video generally. Vaccines for viruses. All inclusive. And of course, there will be a special emphasis on the coronavirus. Now, this one has been very interesting because I've got some very interesting points to share with you on my dissertation research or dissertative research. Now, I've always known and I always tout, and yes, I tout because I believe very strongly. You know how I feel about my wetlands, don't trip. Y'all know how I feel about my wetlands. There are some powerful, powerful ecosystems, and in fact, assertedly, arguably, the most powerful of ecosystems on this planet. Why? Why, you ask? Why not water? When water, I admit, is the most viable most valuable and most viable element, resource on this planet. It's a water world. Despite what we sometimes reduce it to, as planet Earth only, it is a water world. It's mostly water, okay? So why is a wetland not so important? Because what thrives in it is both anaerobic and aerobic. What thrives in it can survive inundated in water and out of the water on land. What can thrive in it plant-wise, microbial life, viruses, bacteria, general biology, when we just think of not so much as microbiology, just the type of life that thrives in a wetland. They are beasts. Similarly, when you think about the deep, right? The abyss of the ocean, anything that can survive that or those conditions must be amazing. And we've not even tapped into that fully, right? Let alone, that there are still species of nearly every form of life that are being discovered on a daily basis, right? Or maybe even more frequently, or maybe infrequently, but still the point that I'm saying is that it's being discovered at a rate that's pretty astonishing, considering what we think is our scope and of knowledge as these great humans that we are. So the next video will be on vaccines. And I will give you a spoiler. And you should have already guessed it because I'm talking about wetlands. Wetlands, from research studies, are showing to be very, very effective in the inactivation and control of vaccines. Now, I don't know how to multiply this or apply this except by the ways that some of my fellow, because some of you know that I was on the engineering track initially, right? So I was in agricultural engineering. And generally, engineers, or generally when you talk about wetlands, generally a lay person, and even some in academic realms, will first assume that is the study by an engineering group. And the reason why they think that is because most wetlands have kind of the importance or focus on wetlands has transitioned from naturally occurring wetlands, which is my love and my expertise. And I do have some expertise in the engineering and companion systems, so don't get it twisted. Okay? All right. But they more so, the transition has been made more onto constructed wetlands. And so, of course, we got constructed. We can do the self-explanatory understanding of that, and hence engineers, right? All right. Except where, and some of you even heard me say this at some of the local political events on energy and conservation and sustainability here in Charlotte. You've heard me mention sponge parks, which no one knew what I was talking about. And I'm hoping that some of you have since researched what I was referring to. Sponge parks have been studied and constructed literally in the center of housing developments in New York, or strategically in areas where there would be recreation, and not so much not like arena recreation, like a local neighborhood park or a local neighborhood swimming pool and the surrounding areas, things like that. And so they have installed constructed wetlands in these places, and they have increased awareness about the benefits that the general public enjoys when there is a wetland constructed in an area where most people would not even conceptualize a wetland to be, because most people conceptualize a wetland to be in a dirty, nasty, muddy place, not a clean, aesthetic, and highly human, and I shouldn't say human traffic, good God, I don't like that term, right? An area with a lot of foot traffic, right? Where kids play. You wouldn't associate the two. So boom, boom, and boom, that's going to be the first video. The next one is going to be Black conservatives for Trump, and I'm going to give you a spoiler on that one too. So each time I come live, I'm going to give you the next two videos. And I'm going to also post in the comments and description of this video, because it will also go over to YouTube, and I'm going to remember to save it this time. Look, I see somebody in the back that's judging me. I want you to stop, because I didn't judge you. I want you to stop. No judgment. Okay, but I'm going to intentionally, right? I'm going to save it before I post it, because there's a little bit of a oof that happens if you post it and you don't save it, then it's just up there and it's there, it's there. But then in order for me to actually capture it, I'll have to go through another step, maybe another downloader and all that stuff and all the extra stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to save it, and so it will be convenient for me and doesn't become burdensome, which would then cause me to maybe post it later or kind of get lackadaisical in that effort. I'm going to save it, post it immediately, so you'll be able to see it, and we'll kind of keep that rhythm. If you have any topics, and we'll just call them topics, we don't need to come up with some catchy fad type of name for it. Just, what we're going to talk about. That's it. Just a topic. If you have a topic, something that you want me to look into, and believe me, my list is long, friends. It's long. Because the next one we will definitely, because clearly we're going to be talking about black equity and legislation for quite some time. And we're going to be talking about, Breonna, for quite some time. I think that Breonna is going to be after Black conservatives for Trump, okay? And tell your friends to come on in and join the conversation. It allows for comments. I ain't scared. I got this. I'm grown, all the way grown, and when I was 4, I was grown. They'll tell you, Lord, people tell you, that Tigress McDaniel, she has been resolved for years. Lord, you feel like you can't break her. Now, I'm not a goody two-shoes, but I guess I'm as close as you can get, for somebody. And admittedly, I loved the hood. I loved it. I came from it, and we grew from it, and I go back to it, because hey, them my people. People's people. You know how I feel about people. So, yeah. But the point I'm making here, to just round this out and stop being silly, is I believe that we will discuss Breonna in the next video after that. I haven't forgotten Blake. I haven't forgotten Botham Jean. I have not forgotten. We still on Trayvon Martin in this heart. In this heart, we going all the way back, Rodney King, all the way. Let me get it to you. Let me give it to you. We going all the way back with Martin Luther King on subjects that y'all probably have not addressed. I haven't even thought about, and I want to have conversations about that as well. I really do. I want to have conversations on what this belief of his personality type as a preacher and the stereotypes that have been, assigned to him, right? Juxtapose Malcolm X, like they were just like big rivals. Yeah, that's gonna be another one. Let's see, and I'm trying to make sure to keep these bits separate because this is my political platform, and I'm trying to keep them a bit separate from my Sydney's smoothie sermon. So if you're familiar with that, then go over to Tigress is a verb. That's my other channel, and it's for that purpose. And you know how I love to compartmentalize because I know that some people like to get at me the way they want to get at me, and I don't want to over inundate you with information that you or a style of delivery that you don't prefer. So my style of delivery on Tigress is a verb, because I had to figure out how can I be political Barbie, right? How can I be, and I'm being, just colloquial. I'm not trying to offend. I know we can go so many different directions with that subject matter. But in order for me to decide to say, you know what, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I'm going to run for office. I want to assist. I want to liaise our evolution and reform and transformation, okay? To do so, I said I have to still be real to me. Anybody that knows me knows I gotta be me. As soon as I feel like I can't be me, I can't rock with it. I've always been allergic to fake. Always, okay? So I'm like, okay, well, with that said, then in order to best manage this all, and knowing that I have great versatility to my life, my business, and everything that is Tigress McDaniel. I mean, for goodness sake, I own a hip hop, R&B, black, proudly black, unapologetically independent, or exclusively independent and unapologetically original music label. Okay? Most of your candidates for office generally don't own a label, right? And it doesn't mean that I'm just saying that I'm not P. Diddy, but I am Tigress. Don't get it twisted. I am Tigress. Okay? I am Tigress. So it's like, okay, the point that I'm making to you is that how do I do this and have the general public take me seriously? Because I'm not just walking around in a bubble. I'm not thinking to myself, oh, they're going to look at me and be like, oh, we get it. It's okay. She's a scientist and she owns a hip hop label, and then she sings songs, and sometimes she curses in the songs, and so, oh no, we accept her just the way she is. I know that generally people, we are judgmental, and that's okay. That's okay, because I have made it a point, and you see that I have been very resolved in this process by the many times that I have taken a whack at the process of running for office. And I'll continue to run for office. I have no intentions of stopping now, okay? And the point I'm making is that I know that I can't just drop everything in your lap and you'll be like, okay, just all at once. Here, take that. This me, blah. People don't work like that. Even when you're learning and you're growing a relationship, that's why there's a dating phase, and then you have to decide, are we serious? We doing this? We gonna do this? You and me, we gonna do this? And that's a process because you have to learn more and more about a person. And so especially when some of you would hear, oh, she owns a music label. Oh, that's not that big of a deal. Okay, that's okay. I can still rock with voting for her as a politician. But then when you hear the name of the label is Eargasm, then you're like, well, I thought she's not really into misogyny and objectification of women. So why would she say a term like eargasm, right? And then you would go into judgment realm, and you would misinterpret that it's just orgasmic, and it actually came from a hip-hop song long before me, and it had nothing to do with sexuality at all. It was just a metaphor. That's it, because it was just orgasmic. They just loved the music so much, the style, right? And that's it. There's really much more to it. However, I do in marketing use some sex appeal. So that may be offensive to some people, and they have to learn who you are, though. They have to see, okay, because there are people who, and I'm glad that my mom taught me this. You can enjoy the lightheartedness of life, but don't go too far. Don't go to extremes, right? Don't jump off the ledge. So yes, will you see me in a very cute outfit? Absolutely, you will. Will you see me stand in what some would assume is a provocative model stance or whatever? Absolutely, you will. But will you see me have my clothes off on the front of any album cover? No, you won't see it. Will you see me with just pasties or whatever? No, you won't see that. Now, I'm also not going to openly or just wantonly denigrate people who are in that process, because I believe life is a process and you have to make these decisions. And sometimes we make decisions based on our own individual circumstances and the way that we've been victimized. And the irony is that I was just talking about this in our virtual discussion. We have discussion groups in school, and I was having, I contributed to the discussion by saying, hey, this is exactly how I feel about this. Victims become victimizers, right? And they assume characteristics of those who victimize, right? Them, right? They're abusers, the people that took advantage of them, the people who effectually taught them how to be better at being them than they were to the victim. You get what I'm saying? Okay. So the point I'm making here is that if you want to go over and you want to hear a little more candid, funny, super sarcastic comedy form and learn how to make some delicious and especially nutritious and especially scientifically infused beverages, going over there. That's for that. If you just want to hear it pretty much straightforward and more academic and even where it's not so academic, because at times it would just be, hey, we're just having a conversation. You want to see it in a more news, more professional delivery, if you will, even though there will still be some light humor. I will do my best to, I'm still going to be me. Keep in mind, I'm going to be me all day long. And there's no separation between the two. All I'm doing is compartmentalizing. You understand? The reason why there's no separation between the two is because they're both public on YouTube, friends. I'm not hiding. I ain't hiding nowhere. Nothing's hidden. Eargasmrecords.com. That ain't hidden. Tigress is a verb on TikTok. That's not hidden. See Tigress Run on TikTok. That's not hidden. Everything is everywhere. This is how we rolling, okay? All right, so here we go. Next video, I'm coming at you 1 hour long on vaccines. Video after that, 1 hour long, and trust me, it could take longer, on Black conservatives for Trump. And let me say this, because I want even Black conservatives to come in and feel that they can have an opportunity to share their insight, their opining, their viewpoints, their perspectives, because I need to know. Like we all, what was her name? Gabrielle on Instagram. And where is she? I'm so confused because I was following her. I don't think she's on. I look for her. She's not on Instagram anymore. So I hope she's well. I hope she's still alive and well. And I don't know what happened there. If you know, let me know. But she would do these very, very entertaining, to say the least, kind of quick videos and episodic, if you will. And she would say at the end of it, I need answers. And she would ask the questions that all of us, have been wanting to ask, kind of like, Cat Williams would do, and Kevin Hart and Dave Chappelle. And I just really loved it. And that's how I feel. Like with Black conservatives for Trump, I need answers. But I definitely have input. So my input will be not the next video, but the video thereafter. And with that, we're done. So I do sincerely hope that you are well, that your family is well. that you have not contracted the coronavirus 19. And whereas if you're in a situation and you have, I am sending you well wishes for a speedy recovery. I would then ask you to kindly drop by Tigress is a Verb on YouTube and enjoy the recipes that are there, because there are a lot of them that will be very, very important on your path of recovery and into the long term. And I'll discuss that in the vaccine video next week. Okay? All right. Well, that's it, guys. All right. So y'all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. And I'm going to remember to push save, okay? I tried, see, I can't even do comedy really well. I tried to do the comedy thing that where they get up and they show their shorts. I'm so corny. I swear. I tried. Because, the whole point was, well, y'all will laugh anyway, I hope. So, but basically the whole point is to what? To show that, since we're all kind of virtually appearing before each other, and pants is optional, right? Pants is optional. I got on my shorts. Got on my shorts. All right. So, until next week, #protect your neck.